This time in the Quick Speed Shop, I'm going to get the brakes bled on the Model A Hot Rod Shop Truck. Alright, before I go and I bleed the brakes on the Hot Rod Shop Truck here, I just got a little diagram I drew up to explain a little bit about brake systems here. This is just real generic, basic guidelines, but there's two types of systems. You can have the master cylinder mounted up on the firewall here, or you can have the master cylinder mounted in the frame down here. Now this truck behind me, I've got a GM master cylinder mounted up on the firewall, and I've got drum brakes or disc brakes in the front and drum brakes on the rear. And then like another car, like an early Ford, like a Model A Ford, if you put hydraulic brakes on it, you're most likely going to have the master cylinder in the frame, which would probably make the lines be below the master cylinder level. So like my Model A Coupe I built, I used a 67 Mustang four-wheel drum master cylinder in the frame, and with drum brakes you want a 10 psi residual pressure valve to hold tension on the drum brakes. So in that car's case I had four-wheel drum brakes, so I had two red residual pressure valves, and you want them close to the master cylinder as possible to hold that pressure in the master cylinder. But say if I was building this truck behind me and if I had the master cylinder mounted in the frame with the disc brakes on the front, I would want a 2 psi blue residual pressure valve in the front and a 10 psi residual pressure valve in the back. So the blues for the front disc brakes and the reds for the ones in the back. Now since this truck has the master cylinder mounted on the firewall, there's less likely chance of air and pressure getting out of the system since the master cylinder is mounted up above the brakes by about 2 feet. So you don't really need a front residual pressure valve. You can just run straight brake line pressure to the front. It's optional. You can put it in if you want. It's not going to hurt it to have it in there, but I didn't run it before when I built this and the truck stopped good. It would lock the front tires right up. And I am running one on the back because I always want that residual pressure on the rear drum brakes. I think drum brakes, you want residual pressure no matter what. So I've laid this out with a GM master cylinder. I've got my red residual pressure valve right near the master cylinder, and then the front lines go out with no pressure valve, but it stops good. So here's just two different scenarios of brake layout. If you're building your car, you want to think about this. Let me zoom in. Can you see it? Hopefully you can see that on the video. If not, just remember master cylinder up high, residual pressure valve for the rear with drum brakes, master cylinder down low, residual pressure valves front and rear no matter what types of brakes you're running. Red for drum, blue for disc, master cylinder in the frame, dual pressure valves required, master cylinder on the firewall with drum brakes on the back, usually only one required for the back. Four-wheel drum brakes always need residual pressure valves. Always put the residual pressure valve with the drum brakes. Okay, so I'm forming the line to hook up the rest of the rear brakes. This is the front small portion on the master cylinder here. So I've got some nickel copper alloy line. I've come around here and I've snaked down around behind the line lock here for the front brakes, and I'm tucking up tight up under this lip of the firewall and coming around about here. I'm going to cut it right here. I've got a Wilwood residual pressure valve for 10 pounds for the rear brakes. That's going to mount right up in here vertically right by this is the line for the hydraulic clutch. It's going to mount right here into the firewall, then I'll come off, bring the line down under the steering column, and then the brake light switch is right back here under the floor. I'll tie into that with another short little line, and then the rear brake line will be all hooked up. Right over here in my brake line station, I'm using the Tool Guy Republic brake fitting machine here, where you got a bunch of dies and you rolled around. I did a video on this tool. This thing's super awesome. I think I bought this one on Amazon, but you can get them through Eastwood and all that, this style brake line tool. So if you go up here, I got a video, you should watch that, because this brake line flaring tool is like made this job a whole ton easier. So I've got I'm using this 3/16 copper nickel iron brake line. It's real easy to work with. It doesn't corrode. It's real easy to bend. And these are some of the old brake lines that were on the truck. I've all wadded them all up to throw them away, but I wanted to put all new lines on the whole truck, and these were not rusty, they were just dirty, and I changed the running of most of them, so I don't need them anyways. But for some reason I thought I bought a bag of new 3/16 fittings, and I probably did. I just have lost them in this junk pile. So I've been taking the wire wheel and I've been wire wheeling up the old fittings here and cutting them off, because there's nothing wrong with them. I'll reuse all those. I got a whole pile of them cut off already, long ones and short ones. So that's what I'm working on over here at the bench. So I'm going to go back, climb under the truck over here, and bend up the rest of this rear brake line. What I like to do with this line, where it is here, I take a countersink bit and I just go and I knurl out the end of this just a little bit for the to get the die in it to form the new fitting. Go here. Don't forget to put the fitting on. Slide that on first. That's a mistake if you make it without the fitting. I'm just going to go over here into the die, pull the fitting back, put the tubing into the die. Operation 0 here. Make sure I don't screw this up. Boom. Get in there. Leave the tubing sticking out just a little bit here. Flip this over, put a little tension on the die, then I pull Operation 0, which lines everything up. And tighten the die down. And I take a little bit of fluid film, I give it a little shot right on the end of the tubing just to lubricate it. I'm going to go to Operation 1 for 3/16 double flare right here. Boom, pull it out there, then Operation 2. Boom. We should have a perfect flare. Look at that. Bam. Perfect. Can you see it? There it is. Ready to rock and roll. So I can go put this on the truck. This part goes down under the frame. This comes up and it's going to, when I tweak it over, it'll kick up into the firewall. Then this fitting up here will hook to the what do you call it? Residual pressure valve. Okay, now that the rear line is done, I've got the front line working and I'm coming across the firewall. I'm over here, can you see maybe off the, what do you call it, line lock? And I've come up and I got to run it behind the wires, but I got to run along the top of the firewall. And then I'm going to come down here along the edge just like the other side. Then I'm going to kick in, go on the frame and run along here where the fuel line is. And then there's going to be a T down here under the header and then go across the crossover. So I got this cut to length and pretty much think that's where it's got to be. So now I got to fish this back out of here, put the fitting on the end, and then fish it back in. This is kind of like a one and done deal. Luckily the stuff bends real nice so I'm able to fish it. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Now I boned myself. What's going on? Oh, shoot. Hooked on the header, there we go. Don't poke yourself in the eye, that'd be bad. Oh, what happens here? So that goes all the way across there like that to the other side. So I'll put my fitting on this end, and then I'll feed it in there permanently and mount it and secure it down. And then I'm going to form this section down here in place as I go. But I got the line down here and it comes down into the frame, and I put a T right here just down just by this motor mount. So I'm just going to run off the bottom of the T. I'm going to come down off this cross member, come around up the other side, and then to that wheel over there. So the brake line comes down the frame rail, and then it goes over here to the T, and then it goes down along the cross member here, and up over there, over the steering box, and into the wheel over there. Okay, I got my master cylinder all ready to bench bleed, but we're going to do it in the truck here. So I've unhooked the steel lines, and I've hooked up these two rubber hoses, and they go down into the fluid, which is brand new fluid in here. I cleaned the master cylinder all out real nice, and I'm just going to stroke this thing back and forth to push the air out of the system and get the thing all ready to go. You can see it's probably bubbling up air out of this rear bleed. I'm going to slowly work the brake pedal back and forth. I've got these hoses down in the fluid, so any air that will come out into the fluid and not just suck air back into the hoses. So actually, let me top this up with a little more fluid. That brand new .3 fluid here. And I'll go and stroke it. Oh, that's what she said. I'll go stroke it inside a little bit. Also what she said. You can see it's pushing the air out here. Make sure my lines didn't blow off. Are we leaking here? I don't see any leaking action going on. The rear bore took some fluid. Let me get a little top up in there. I'm just gonna work it, try to get the air out here. Basically keep pumping it until there's no more air bubbles coming out. Now you know that it's bled. Got just a little bit of rusty fluid in there. That's not too bad. The front's looking clean. So that's bled out good. So I'm gonna do is pull these hoses out, slap the lines on as fast as I can so I don't lose any fluid, and then probably crack the bleeders on the back of the truck because it's the farthest away, and try to let some air, let the fluid gravity push down and push some of the air out of the system and start bleeding these brakes. Alright, I've gone to the farthest brake line away from the master cylinder, which would be the right rear wheel here, and I've cracked the bleeder. I got this one-man brake bleeding kit which won't allow any air back into the system. So I think what I'm going to do, I've got it cracked. It might be gravity draining back here to this line, but I think I'm going to slowly just work the pedal and get the fluid heading this way. You know, since these are all brand new brake lines, this whole system is completely dry. So it's going to take a little bit to get the fluid down here. Push some air this way, and I'll go up front, and I'll push some air to the front, and I'll just keep working it back and forth until I start to get some fluid. And then I'll probably work on the rear brakes first, bleed out the right side, then go to the left side, bleed that out, and then bleed out the, let's see, it'd be the left front wheel would be the farthest run, and bleed that out, and then do the right front wheel. And then once it starts getting the fluid established, probably let it sit for a while, let the air rise to the top, and then bleed all the wheels again, and hopefully the brakes will be alright. I might need to get somebody else to come push the brake pedal, because I'm going to guess it's going to be a lot of pushing. Alright, I'm starting to get a little bit of fluid up here to the left front caliper. I'm going to give it one more go up here, and then I'm going to switch to the right side and put the bleeder on that. I still haven't got any fluid to the back yet. I've been working both bleeders. I put the brake pedal on, I opened this left front bleeder, and then I opened the right rear bleeder. So I've been trying to push the air both ways. So got fluid up here because it's a lot shorter distance, and hopefully I'll be getting it to the back shortly. Close the bleeder, I'm going to pull the pedal back, pump the pedal a couple times, and then push it back down. I'm using my shop vac extension to hold the pedal down between the pedal and the seat. It's the perfect length. It holds it in there good, so one person bleeding. And it's also taking fluid in both reservoirs, so here we go, watch this, ready? There goes some fluid there. Looks like nice, clean, well it should be clean, it's all brand new. So let me go ahead and pop the rear guy open, and I'll keep doing this, and I'm going to switch this over here. Well, I got her now. Check this out. I got a real nice firm pedal here. It barely goes down an inch. This is manual brakes, so there's no power assist, but it's got a real firm pedal. This thing always had a good firm pedal in it when I built it originally. But all the new brakes seem to be working all right. I got it all bled out by myself. I'm going to let it sit for a few days and let the bubbles work up, and then I'll probably have somebody come over and run the pedal, and I'll just bleed it again. But it's got a real firm pedal. I don't see any leaks on any lines. I got good clear fluid, so I think everything is going to be okay with the brakes. And that'd be a bonus. You always want to be able to stop. So I guess that's it on the brakes. You can hear the calipers dragging. Everything's mushed over nice. The brakes are nice and firm when I put the pedal on. I got a good firm pedal, and I'll just wait and let it, like I said, let it settle out for a while and bleed it in another week or so. Make sure I get all the air out. But it looks like a success. I'm going to have good brakes on a Model A Hot Rod shop truck. So as always, thanks for watching. Please subscribe. I'm putting out new videos every Wednesday and Saturday. Hit the bell for alerts. Tell your friends. And as always, we'll see you right back here at the Quick Speed Shop for more Model A Hot Rod shop truck action.